Mr. Franke, we know that you weren't on the agenda for today, and we know that you've spoken before this committee meeting, before. Talk to us about your goals and continually coming to these in light of what happened to your family. What's your goal here?
Well, first I'll say I don't expect any special treatment or preference. I'm a concerned citizen just like anybody else. But I do have some, personal experience and knowledge in this area, unfortunately, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. I have some strong opinions. I'm a proponent for child welfare reform, and I want to see some serious changes.
Can you elaborate on some of those changes?
Well,
sorry.
Oh, sure. Yeah. First of all, I'd say it's difficult to elaborate because so much of the changes or so much of the current policy and procedure is hidden. Right now, we're out in the hallway because there's a closed-door session going on. I think so many of us have questions about how this process works, what failed, what went wrong. But when all of those things are discussed behind closed doors, how can anyone know what needs to be changed? So it really doesn't foster confidence in the system.
So Kevin, they would say, and they have said for a long, long time, this is all about privacy and protecting children. What do you make of those reasons for this being closed?
Yeah, I don't disagree with privacy laws, but I think we need to look at them from a higher elevation and really ask the question, can we address some of these issues and some of these questions without invading individual privacy? I personally have the opinion that privacy laws are used by agencies to shield and protect themselves.
To protect themselves, not to protect the kids or the family.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
So, to break that up, how do you do it?
I don't know. That's above my pay grade, unfortunately.
You've talked about getting to know DCFS caseworkers over the last few months with the reunification with yourself and your children.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that experience. What have you learned from that experience, getting to know them and their process?
Well, I can't speak to too many details regarding the reunification process and the juvenile court case that's still ongoing. That's been closed to the public by the judge, and I don't want to violate that gag order. But I will say, in general, the process of working with the caseworkers that have been assigned to our case has been overall a positive experience, I think, for me and for my children. The caseworkers that have been assigned to our case, I think, genuinely care. They are genuinely trying to help my family, but they have to operate within the current system and the laws and policies that govern that system.
But you say that they're overworked in the statement preview that you've sent us. There are some shortfalls that come with the caseload they have?
Definitely. I think that's a pretty well documented fact at this point. I read an article today, I think, in KUTV News of an interview of a former caseworker who wished to remain anonymous, who reported that in a single day, he or she received 5 new reports that needed to be responded to within 24 hours. That's amazing. That's overwhelming for anybody. And the caseworkers that I have interacted with have expressed similar feelings and a feeling of being overwhelmed.
You've also talked about red flag laws. And you've talked about neighbors, ecclesiastical leaders, friends speaking up. Do you think if things were different, you yourself would have been more empowered, or your neighbors or those ecclesiastical leaders in your case would have had more power, more weight to what they were reporting, or would have reported more?
Absolutely. I wouldn't be advocating for red flag laws if I didn't think they would have made a difference in the case of my own children and family, and in the case of Gavin Peterson and his family.
Kevin, just on that, we're here to talk about Gavin Peterson, and as someone who is from a family with a close call, and Gavin Peterson is obviously the worst case scenario. How did you feel when Luz Escamilla brought it up, or Senator Escamilla, sorry. How did you feel when the review committee came back for those 4 fatalities and said that there were no policy change suggestions or that sort of thing? How did that make you feel as a parent who came close to a Gavin Peterson situation?
Honestly, I felt quite angry and pretty emotional. I know that what was presented was very factual. In my opinion, I think 1 is too many. And I know it was cited that of the 4 homicides in this last fiscal year, it was cited that 3 of them did not have DCFS involvement. I would counter and say that's exactly my point. Why wasn't DCFS involved?
Well, in the Gavin Peterson situation, there was a tip-off a year earlier by a lunch lady. Does that speak to what you're talking about there?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have more questions today than I've ever had. I know that a report was released that had a timeline of all of the DCFS interaction with the Gavin Peterson case. And when I read that a report was dismissed because it was unfounded or unsubstantiated or unconfirmed, I have a lot of questions of what does that mean? Why was it unconfirmed? Why was it unsubstantiated? What justified that characterization?
So what's your recommendation to the legislature to fix this? If you had to say, take this step, and this step, what would they be?
Well, first, I would recommend to the legislature that they bring the public into this discussion. So much of this discussion is going on behind closed doors, and I think that needs to stop.
Is that the major issue here, the major problem?
I don't think it's the major issue, but I do think it is a major issue. I think there needs to be transparency in dissecting the entire child welfare system. Second, I think a major issue that we don't talk a lot about, but I think we need to, is how much power the judges in the juvenile court have over this entire process. They literally are the drivers and the decision makers for the go or no-go in most of these cases. And that really needs to be examined closer, I think.
Because?
Well, because do they really know what's going on? They're 3 steps removed from the child as opposed to individuals like teachers, neighbors, friends, ecclesiastical leaders who are only 1 step removed from the child. And those individuals know best when something is wrong.
So more transparency, better judicial oversight and review. What else?
I would encourage the legislature to speak with the individuals who are boots on the ground in this. Not the director, not the administrators. Speak with the caseworkers.
We had a lot of bureaucrats in here this morning.
Absolutely.
That needs to change.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's telling to me that a former caseworker came forward to the media and called the system broken, but wants to remain anonymous. Why? Why? Well, obviously, that individual fears retribution. That's not right.
You're here on behalf of your family, and also you say you're here to advocate for what happened with Gavin Peterson, bring attention to that. But I have to ask, what would you say to people who are critical of your role and your family situation, who feel that you don't have a lot of credibility? There are a lot of people who feel that way.
So I understand that. And they're certainly justified and entitled to think whatever they want. All of the details regarding what happened with my family and in my experience aren't out. And the narrative that is quite popular in the media and on social media today has many inaccuracies. And when the time is right and when I'm ready to speak, I will, and my adult children will tell what really happened. But the bottom line is many of us were deceived and betrayed. And that led to the disaster and the tragedy that impacted my children. I'm not claiming to be guiltless in this. And there are a lot of things that I wish that I would have done different. And I chose to believe a professionally licensed mental health counselor and my wife in many instances. And I should have questioned that.
Anything else, Mr. Franke?
No, I look forward to giving my statement to the Legislative Committee. And again, I'm just a private and concerned citizen, but I hope that they will listen to citizens like me.
Did your daughter help you with this statement? I know the last one, I believe she worked with you on that statement before the last committee meeting.
She didn't assist me with this statement. I think this issue regarding the death of Gavin Peterson is pretty emotionally charging. And she's choosing to keep her distance for now, and which is understandable, and I can certainly respect that. I feel a responsibility and an incredible passion to speak on this issue. I find it telling that Gavin Peterson's death was reported less than 2 weeks after I made my last comments to the Legislative Committee regarding red flag laws. The timing of that was awful, but I hope that it causes these committee members to listen to the suggestions I'm providing.
Is your statement today going to be the same as your statement you released, or?
I've made some changes. Maybe I need to rethink some of those changes based off some emotionally charged moments in that first portion of this meeting. Whatever statement I speak, I will share with you if you want to publish that, and I'm happy. I stand by the words that I say.
Thank you, Mr. Franke.
You're welcome. Thank you all. Thank you.